Did you know that over 80% of beginners botch their first peptide dose because of confusing reconstitution maths? Buying high purity peptides means absolutely nothing if you're going to miscalculate your bacteriostatic water ratios and completely wreck your dosage accuracy. Today, I'm going to cut through all of the confusion so you know exactly how to reconstitute your peptides. What we're also going to do is dispel any myths and misinformation out there on the shelf life and stability of the most popular peptides. Oh, and stick around to the very end of the video because I'm going to reveal to you a digital tool that will take all of the guesswork out of your reconstitution maths and make it really simple for you. Welcome back to Peptide Corner. I'm Tom. As a chartered chemical process engineer, my day-to-day job revolves around fluid systems, mass transfer, and concentrations. If the concentration, for example, in a plant is off by even a tiny fraction, the whole plant and product is going to fail. Your body and peptide reconstitution is no different. But before we pull out the syringes and start calibrating your internal plumbing, let's crank out that standard safety notice. This video is for educational and research purposes only, not medical advice. Always consult your doctor before making any health decisions. I really hope you've enjoyed our videos so far as I started this YouTube journey. What I would really love is if you could please smash that like button, hit subscribe, and click the bell icon. Your support will help show YouTube that we're worth sharing with other people out there and help keep this roller coaster content ride going. Let's first tackle one of the most common questions I see circling around online forums, and that's people's fear of killing the peptide. Now, you may see anonymous posts stating that if a drop of water hits the peptide powder too fast and too hard, or if you shake the vial too much to reconstitute it, the peptide powder will shatter like glass. Seriously though, let's have a look at the engineering physics behind this and break it all down for you. Peptides are highly resilient, chemically bound amino acid structures. Now look, as long as you're not sticking your vial in some commercial grade paint mixer, just shooting some bacteriostatic water down the inside of the glass vial and giving it a gentle swirl is absolutely fine. So just relax, you're not going to fracture molecular bonds acting like a normal person. Alright, let's now break down that dreaded reconstitution maths problem. What I think people's biggest confusion stems from is the fact that peptide mass comes in milligrams, you have liquids that are measured in milliliters, and then your syringe generally comes split into units. All you need to overcome this problem is a basic understanding of maths and ratios. Let's now break down a standard 5 milligram vial together. Let's say you inject exactly 2 mils of bacteriostatic water into your 5 milligram vial of peptide. What you end up with is a concentration of 2.5 milligrams per milliliter. In order to get that, you just take your mass of 5 grams, divide it by the volume of water, 2 mils, to end up with 2.5 milligrams per milliliter concentration. If you have a standard insulin 100 unit syringe, the 100 units is equivalent to 1 mil. So if you pull the plunger down to say 10 units or 0.1 mil, you'll end up pulling a dose of 0.25 milligrams or 250 micrograms of active peptide mass. Now, how did we get to that? You just take your concentration of 2.5 milligrams per milliliter or 2.5 milligrams per 100 units. You multiply it by the volume that you've just pulled, 0.1 mils or 10 units, and then divide it by the total volume of the syringe, which in this case is 100 units or 1 mil. That ends up giving you your dosage of 0.25 milligrams or 250 micrograms. So then, what happens if your peptide vial arrives in a 10 milligram dosage instead of the 5 milligram, and you put in the exact same amount of liquid, your 2 mils of bacteriostatic water? What you've essentially done is you've doubled the mass of peptide in there while keeping the volume the same and therefore double the concentration. So what you'll end up with is 5 milligrams per milliliter concentration instead of 2.5 milligrams per milliliter of concentration. How do we calculate that? We take the 10 milligrams of mass, we divide it by the 2 milliliters of liquid to end up with 5 milligrams per milliliter of concentration. Now let's say you take that exact same syringe and you pull it to the exact same spot of 10 units or 0.1 mil. Now your dosage has doubled to 0.5 milligrams or 500 micron. It's the exact same fluid volume that you had before, just carrying double the amount of active peptide mass. Now that you've got your peptide reconstituted, let's have a bit of a chat around stability and shelf life. Once you put bacteriostatic water into the dry peptide powder, the biological clock starts ticking, and the different peptide compounds all degrade at different rates. It all really depends on the molecular structure of the peptide itself. For example, the larger weight loss peptides like Semaglutide, Retatrutide, Tirzepatide, they're pretty structurally stable and they'll last in solution anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. If you then have a look at some of the repair peptides like BPC-157, Epidolon, TB500, even GHK-Cu, they're also pretty structurally robust and they'll last anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks when refrigerated. But then you get into some of the fragile peptides like CJC-1295 and ipamorelin, or even the mitochondrial peptides like mots-c and SS31. Or even fragile protein peptides like IGF-1-LR3. They degrade really fast and they'll only last for maybe a couple of weeks. So you should be able to see a table of all 12 right here on your screen. And don't worry about quickly jotting it all down. I'll put the complete list in the description below, along with all the regulatory and journal links for you, so that you can come back later and look up exactly your peptide and all of the information about it. Now for that promise to bypass manual calculations altogether. There's actually some online peptide calculators and apps that you can use instead. All you need to do is enter your peptide mass in your vial, how much bacteriostatic water you've added, what target dosage you would like, and what type of syringe you have. It will then calculate exactly how much you need to draw into that syringe to get your accurate dosage. These eliminate any human calculation errors instantly. What I've done is I've had a look at a few of them online, and I'll put a link in the description below to a really good one that I found so that you've got it handy and can refer back to it whenever you need. Oh, and one other handy trick for you. When you reconstitute your peptide, write down the reconstitution date straight onto your vial. There's a lot of dodgy people out there online that will try and sell you peptides and will claim that they last forever. Just track your mixing timeline, refer back to the verified literature, and make sure that you've got active peptide compounds at all times rather than just dead water. The bottom line is that reconstitution isn't something you need to be afraid of anymore. It's just some simple math and fractions. Gently mix your solutions. Use your apps and online tools that you have access to now to calculate your ratios, and just keep track of your reconstitution dates. But remember, having perfect maths means absolutely nothing if your peptides come contaminated, underdosed, or completely fake. If you'd like to know how to find safe peptide suppliers online, spot red flags or fake COAs before you even spend a single dollar, click the link of the video popping up right now to watch our how-to on this topic. Also, why don't you drop a comment below and let me know all about your mixing experience, or even if you have any remaining questions that I can help answer for you. Until next time, and as always, stay safe, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you right back here on Peptide Corner.